All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to session 6 and 7 of Together Facing the Challenge. This will be our last session, and then we're done. By now, you should have a pretty thick packet of worksheets to show that you've watched the videos and done the work associated with this training. I'll go over what is required for worksheets. You need activity 1C, which is the second page in the packet that was emailed to you. Activity 1D, steps for tracking behavior. There's a second activity 1D, tracking behavior form. That's page 8 of Together Facing the Challenge. Activity 2C, the incentives list. Activity 2E, you need to choose 2 of the statements and write them into I statements, or it's ineffective or ineffective. And if it's ineffective, rewrite it to make it effective. Activity 3B is button pushing. Activity 3D, processing removed. So watch that video and then answer the questions on activity 3D, page 37. Activity 3C is the ABCs of the conflict cycle. So writing down an antecedent, a behavior, and a consequence that happens with a power struggle and the conflict cycle, and then answer the questions that are there in the boxes. And then iMessages, page 36. Activity 4B, logical versus natural consequences, page 45. Activity 4C, effective consequences. Choose one consequence and then write the questions out, answer those questions based on the consequence that you choose. You don't have to do every single one of them. Activity 4E is the behavior contract. Practice writing out a behavior contract, either with a real scenario or an imagined scenario. Activity 5B, knowing who you are, 3, 2, 1. This goes along with the documentary that's in session 5, and then answer the questions that are on activity 5B. Activity 5C is exploring individual identity. Please write down a couple of thoughts, a few sentences about exploring individual identity after you've read through that page and watching the video and the things that are discussed. Activity 5D are cultural diversity vignettes. Choose one and then answer the questions on page 60, the cultural vignettes, and fill out the grid, the possible solutions, barriers, and solutions. Activity 5E is goal setting, either with real or imagined goals. What I really want to see on this is your strengths and things you can do to build on maybe some strengths that you would like to have as far as cultural diversity and attitudes and being better with helping youth explore their cultural identity and so forth. All right. And then for session 6, we'll get started with that. We'll start the video now. Session 6 is about the transition to young adulthood, helping your youth develop essential life skills and problem-solving strategies, and setting both short and long-term goals lays the groundwork for youth to face the challenges presented on the road to self-discovery and interdependence. In session 5, we talked about the impact of foster care placements on youth's identity development, how awareness of our own identity can improve our work with youth, how to respond to diversity in the home, developing culturally sensitive goals, and the importance of life books. Today in session 6, we'll reflect on our own experience in transitioning to young adulthood, understand that the skills that promote interdependence start in early childhood, learn specific strategies to support youth in building essential life skills, learn strategies for assisting our youth in solving problems effectively, and use strategies for assisting youth in setting short-term and long-term goals. So here we go. Activity 6B is my circles of support. We're going to fill this out for ourselves. The first thing you'll do is start in that inner circle on page 69, activity 6B. You're who you go to when the going gets tough. Who's your most trusted person in your life that you can rely on, that you go to. In the second circle, write down the individuals, organizations, and social circles that support us in our lives. And then in the outside, this would be close or distant physically or emotional supports, consistent lifetime long supports, or limited supports, or frequent or infrequent supports. So think about that for just a little bit and fill that out. All right, so maybe a little bit of help with this. For example, my circle, my inner circle includes my spouse, myself, because I'm pretty self-reliant, and my parents. That middle circle consists of friends, work, possibly therapy. I've relied on that in the past to help me get through tough times. And in the outside, schools, institutions, distant family. If I went to church, church would be in my outer circle, but if church is something that you rely on and you go weekly or more than weekly, you may want to put that in your inner circles. So think about that, and then think about this as it pertains to our foster youth and who they can rely on. So on this, use the backside. Well, actually, there's another one right underneath it for your foster youth. So think about that and who they have to rely on. Something that pops to my mind when I'm filling this out is a foster youth couldn't necessarily rely on parents as their inner circle. That's not going to be as consistent and as helpful as maybe my parents would be. So think about that and fill out the circles of support worksheet for your youth. If you need more time to think about that, to fill that out, go ahead and do that. You can pause. But also answer the question, what is one thing that you will do to support your youth to build their permanent circle of support? A permanent circle, which can be really hard for foster kids who are jumping around from home to home and have a lot of adjustments to make in their lives. So, and I'm not going to provide any help on that one because that really is the activity, is to think about how there's a true lack of support for foster kids who are transitioning into adulthood. So consider that and really take some time and think that one through. On your own, because we're not doing small groups, circle the permanent supports on both of your circles. What differences or similarities do you notice between the two circles? Are there any supports on your list or that you've heard about that you could add to your youth circle? Fill out the action statement. What is one thing you can do to support your youth to build upon their permanent circle of support? Consider your role in preparing youth for their transition to young adulthood. Record your responses to the first two questions in the chapter next, making the transition page. So how do you view, this is on activities 6C and 6D, chapter next, pre and post video discussion. We're going to watch a video. So before watching the video, please answer these two questions. How do you view your role in preparing youth for the future? This is on your worksheet. And what are you already doing or plan to do to help your youth prepare for the future? And even if you have young kids in your home, there's answers to these questions. There are things that we can do with very small kids to help them be independent. So write some of those answers down before we watch the video. If you need to pause, you can pause, but we're going to go ahead and watch the video.
I think one of the biggest flaws in the system is not preparing youth enough for the real world. Give them the time, your time, to teach them to be independent. Foster kids are a lot more resilient than people give us credit for. Even though I am a DSS person, that I can still make the most out of myself. Since I don't have everything I need, it's very stressful. Because I have 3 months to get a car, get a place to stay, to get a full-time job, filling out a bunch of job applications, I've never done that before. So I had to stay with my aunt. I had to ask her all sorts of questions to learn how to fill out applications and to be presentable, and it's just really hard.
The 3 years that I was in foster care, I had everything I needed. I was in a group home and they gave me everything. I didn't have to really do anything for myself other than, wash clothes or bathe myself. That was pretty much it. Everything was handed to me. And now nothing's handed to me.
Help teach like your children or like your foster children what to do instead of doing it for them, because most people, they don't just learn by watching, they have to do it, and you have to instruct them. You cannot expect a person in foster care to know everything about what they're doing, because most of the time they haven't had somebody to teach them.
I moved so much that you'll be in a home and you make mistakes and you do stuff that's wrong, and then you just move to a different home. So you get this mindset of, oh, well, if I mess up and if I, screw this situation up, I'm just going to go to another one. And so I think that it's, a system where, every time you mess up or every time something goes wrong, you're just put into a whole new situation. But in the real world, that's not how it works. And it kind of just doesn't prepare us fully for, what happens in the real world after you age out.
When they age out, they just kind of say, you're 18, okay, bye, figure it out on your own. I was never taught how to do any of the stuff that you need to learn how to do when you become an adult.
Usually once a month, a kid in their team meeting, their team, their social worker and their guardian ad litem and therapist and whoever else, basically their group of support people. They all have this big meeting where they discuss what's happened month. I feel like kids need to be part of these meetings, because I started going when I was 14, and that's helped me be in so much more control of my life.
I will say, continuing on what we were talking about, that I think sometimes we forget about the poor little old foster parents too, and forget to see their side of the story. And we all know that some of us are a bit of a hot mess, and that we can be a handful sometimes. And so it's kind of funny how it's a mirror image of what we feel and how we feel, oh, we're not being prepared for all this stuff. And I mean, I'm sure that no foster parent that I encountered was prepared for me. So
with foster parents, I've been in a bunch of foster homes, and no matter if they grew up the same as you, they'll always try and put themselves in your shoes, and it's really hard for them to understand. And I feel like as us coming into the house, we don't quite meet. We didn't grow up with each other. So there's always that constant struggle of trying to understand one another and also learn together. And it's just really hard to meet that. So you always have to have communication.
It's not always going to work out if you think you can do it one way. But if you get more opinions, you're more open-minded to take different, routes and different pathways.
there's no shame in going to your foster parents or foster parents coming to your kids and saying, what are your fears? What are you afraid of? What do we need to work on together to get through this? I think communication is key for that, to figure stuff out together along the way.
Like having to move from place to place, not always knowing like when you're going or like how long you'll be at a certain house. That like it doesn't make it easy to like feel stable and learn what you need to learn in that time period. I would always be moving. Because I would always be with myself, or if somebody didn't like me, I mean, it's constantly not being stable. And then when I did feel comfortable, I had moved so much before that I would start running away from pushing them away because I wasn't used to it and I didn't get shown enough love from somebody. I feel like a foster kid needs constant reassurance that you love them. I've been in my foster home and I'm about to be adopted. I've been there for like 2 years. And I still need to hear sometimes that I'm not going anywhere.
There's so much going on in our heads and so much going on in our lives that, you know, when we do move and when we do find different families, even if that family is doing all that they can to help you, it's just harder for us to let them in. Because, I mean, we've had so many people come in and just trample on our hearts and then say, all right, well, there you go, have at it. You know, go to the next place. And that definitely gets hard, and that's definitely a barrier that I think that can be fixed if, you know, a foster child or a youth in foster care just understands that this is just temporary.
Me building walls throughout my life have, you know, ruined relationships for me. I've pushed family away. I've pushed people I loved away. You know, I pushed my own mom away. And, you know, walls aren't a good thing. I mean, at times they can be, you know, to hide your fears and hurt. But it's, when they come down, it's like a light shines through. People see the real you. And very few people have seen, you know, the real me because I've been hurt so many times. So I definitely think foster parents need to see that. You're not always going to see the light in your foster children.
There were 3 or 4 homes where I didn't know anything was going wrong. I didn't know anything that was happening. And, you know, I either figured it out on my own, you know, by doing stuff I probably shouldn't have. But anyway, I had to figure it out on my own, or, you know, I was just told you're moving tomorrow, or, you know, this home is just not working out. And a lot of times it was for little stuff. If they had just come to me and told me these things, I would have tried to work on it better because, you know, that was my home. That was my life. I would have done anything to keep that.
Foster kids are a lot more resilient than people give us credit for. Like, I feel like people think that since we've been through so much already, that we're not up for taking anything else. But really, that just makes us better than we already were and stronger. Like, I think it's a real case of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
I can definitely see where aging out is scary because for me it was terrifying. You have a spark in your eye when you leave DSS custody, like you know what you want to do, but then when you finally get out, it's like that spark's gone. You don't know what to do.
I feel like my biggest fear is not being able to support myself. And also, me and my friend, we signed a lease. She did, so we could share the rent when I get out, because it's coming up. And I think that scares me, because we're friends, and I just want to make sure it works. Also, I don't want to go crazy. I don't want to relapse. I want to work hard, go to school, and do the best that I can.
One of my biggest fears is failing, because I'm that type of person that I want to prove everyone wrong and make all my family proud. Like, I'm just that type of person. And I feel like whenever I go into the real world, I'm gonna fail and then everything's just gonna go downhill for me. So,
Someone told me a story about a book that they read and a little excerpt from the book. It says in the book that when you're riding a bicycle, if you see a rock or an obstacle up ahead, that if you keep focusing on that rock and like, I'm gonna hit that rock, I'm gonna hit that rock, you're going to hit the rock. So what you have to do is you have to think, I'm not going to hit that rock. I'm gonna go around it. I'm gonna be fine. And so I feel like that's something that everyone can do, is just focus on the good things and the positive things in your life, and not so much about obsessing with all the things that you're afraid of and all the things that you think are gonna happen to you. Nothing ever turns out like you think that it will. But regardless of the fact that I'm not anywhere near where I wanted to be when I was your all's age, I'm still happy. And I'm still content with where I am, and I know that I'm eventually gonna get to all the places that I wanna be.
I hope to be in college, follow my dream as being something in the agricultural career and have internship and having some kind of, job to keep me stable.
I don't know what I want to be yet, but maybe I'll have an husband, boyfriend. I don't know what I want, but hopefully I will be successful and doing good and making good money. Just striving to be a good woman. Some advice that I would give foster parents is have an open heart, have an open mind, be really social with them, and be understanding. Because all those are key things that you need to, have a good relationship with your foster children or your biological children even. Treat your foster kids the same. I know a lot of families that treat the biological children better or always pick sides, and all a foster kid wants most of the time is to just be loved and just be treated like a human being, because that's what we are. We're no less than you or anyone else. We're just people.
Your foster children will push you to see what your limits are. And most of the time, they're trying to push you to see if you really care and to see if you're going to be there for them through the end of it all and how much you really care about them, because they know that if they push hard enough, that most of the time, like, you'll break. And you have to know that they're not pushing you because, like, they want to leave. They're pushing you because that's the only way that they know. They're just so used to having relationships go badly that they don't know how to build a healthy one or like a long-lasting one.
There's always a story that I tell about my sister. The first day that I ever met my sister, she was going to go check out wedding cakes. And it was the first day that I ever met her. I had literally known her for an hour, and we drove in the car and we got to the place where we were picking out the wedding cakes. And when we all went in, the lady came up and said, "Hi, Claire, we were speaking over email. I'm Regina," or whatever her name was. And then my sister was like, "This is my mom, this is my, fiance, and this is my brother." Like, didn't miss a beat, and everyone that I had ever lived with didn't ever hesitate to call me their foster son or their foster brother. And that was one of the experiences that I will never ever forget, because that just let me know that she immediately accepted me. And I would say to all foster parents, be real and be upfront with them, and just appreciate the time that you do have with them, and be their parent and let them be your child.
All right, so after viewing that video, I write down your answers on page 71, activity 6D. What thoughts and comments or reactions do you have to the foster kids in this video? How and when do the youth suggest communicating with them? I don't know if it was really explicit, but really ongoing and regularly communicating with foster kids, not surprising them with information. What are some of the strengths you see in these youth? And that's really your opinion. What strengths do you see? Some of the things I wrote down were resilience, a willingness to learn what they don't know, and they seem very self-aware of their circumstances and who they are. What are some concerns or fears and obstacles these youth face when leaving foster care? There was a section devoted to that. So not being able to support themselves, relapsing, failing, obsessing with obstacles. Those were some of the things that were mentioned. What qualities do you hear the youth describe as beneficial in a foster parent? Some of the things I wrote down were patience, seeing the good in foster youth. The one girl talked about seeing the light in their foster youth, communication and fostering a good relationship. And what will you do to help youth overcome future challenges? So you can write down anything you want. I'm just sharing what I wrote. What I wrote was open heart, open mind, social, be fair, and provide acceptance. Your role in transitioning to youth adulthood. Support building a sense of balance, aka interdependence, between acceptance of support and the desire for independence. Start building life skills anytime. Seek additional adults as mentors for youth. Quality relationships improve outcomes for youth during and after foster care. So interdependence equals a more successful transition. How to create learning opportunities. Let's see. You know what? I don't have page 73. Let me just look through really quick and make sure that's true. That is true. All right. Create learning opportunities by identifying a learning opportunity. Usually this is a quiet time when something of value is going on, like say maybe you're paying bills or you're working through a budget sheet, or you're building a menu to then make a grocery list and then a food budget. Teach. Take the time to show the foster youth what you're doing when it comes to these types of adult things. Observe how well did they perform? Were they socially appropriate? Did they miss any steps? Check in, be brief engage the youth, use a praise sandwich, choose only one thing to improve at a time. Building skills for adulthood. We're, of course, going to work independently. All right, so consider the wheel on this page: housing, relationships, practical life skills, education, money, health, employment. Take some time and think about what it would take. This is actually page 89 in the worksheet packet. You have to dig just a little bit past the information, but it's in order, and this is page 89. And what I'd like you to do is pick one or two of these and write down how you could help a foster youth learn more about one of these topics of transitioning into adulthood. And this looks like activity 6E. Looks like this. And then just write some things down about how you can help a youth with these things. One thing that I would suggest is education. In Nevada, foster youth have access to education, and it is free. There are a lot of programs. There is an NSHE ambassador that helps foster kids with their education, helps them fill out their FAFSA, helps them access dollars for going to college, housing. There's work study programs through going to school. So I would recommend looking into that a little bit more. Education really is the best way to become self-reliant, in my opinion. That could be just my opinion, but I hope we all share my opinion. But yeah, take some time, really look into those things. If you have any questions, give me a call if you have an older youth. I'd love to talk to you about that. Another one that I would suggest is money. We're funny about money, and we don't like to talk about budgets and what we're spending and what that looks like, what's coming in, what's going out. But it's something that needs to be talked about, and maybe even going over tax forms and what that looks like. A budget sheet. Anyone who would like a DFS budget sheet is pretty comprehensive, and it's a good way to see this is what you have, this is what you're spending on, and this is what you have coming in versus what's going out. I've used it recently to talk to my 17-year-old about budgets. So, maybe you take those and fill out page 89. That's activity 6E. All right, goal setting and building towards success. Some basic steps. Set the goal. Take steps toward the goal. Respond to obstacles. Monitor progress and celebrate achievement. Think about some of the goals you had as a teenager. What helped you to reach these goals? What challenges did you face? How can you use your experience to help youth achieve their goals? Think about that and how you can help. Think about what was important to you as a teenager, some of the fears that you had, some of the obstacles that you encountered, maybe with employment, maybe with education, relationships. Think about some of those things and the things that you've learned that could help your youth. Problem solving and decision making. Here's an example. Jim wants to be a lawyer when he grows up, but he just doesn't like school very much. He's a junior in high school and has just been told that he will have to stay back and repeat the year. He is feeling very frustrated and is thinking of dropping out of school. All right, so define the problem. Generate all of the possible solutions. Consider the potential consequences of each of the possible solutions. Assess each choice and its related consequences to prioritize the solutions and implement the top priority choice and keep the others available if this solution fails. All right, so here's the problem. Jim wants to be a lawyer, but he wants to drop out of school. Well, you have to graduate from high school to become a lawyer. There's a lot of schooling involved with going to law school, so that's a problem. He will not be able to achieve this particular goal if he drops out of school. So that's the consequence of that. In fact, it's hard to gain any type of employment now without a high school diploma. So I'm going to say dropping out of school is not a solution. Assess each choice and its related consequence. So this would be a time when you might want to talk to a school counselor, talk about options for credit retrieval, talk about summer school, talk about how to earn credits faster, maybe catch up just a little bit. So that's not as discouraging of a situation. This would be a situation where we would really want to encourage him not to give up on school, but to maybe find some solutions. So implement the top priority choice and keep the others available if this solution fails. So in this case, you know, maybe we talk about other career choices that don't have so much schooling involved. If school really is a difficulty, maybe being a lawyer isn't the best thing. Maybe we talk about other possible career goals that are acceptable to Jim so that he doesn't feel like a failure and has good employment opportunities, has a good career when he gets to that point. Okay. Create a specific monitoring strategy. Help youth develop self-evaluation skills. Celebrate small successes. So in Jim's case, you know, say that we go and we make a plan for credit retrieval and he's getting good grades. He's doing well. He's progressing in those classes and maybe moving through that. Use praise sandwiches. Teach youth to build their own praise sandwiches. So teach youth to recognize their own achievements so that when they're in their self-talk mode, they're talking to themselves nicely. Hey, yeah, this is working. I'm doing good. I can keep moving forward. This is great. I can keep going. So we want to teach children to praise themselves and have positive self-talk. Ask youth how they think it's going. Create that communication. Keep it open. See if there's any adjustments that need to be made, and then repeat goal setting and problem solving processes frequently. Support youth in being realistic while maintaining hope. So be sure to include other people, especially, you know, if it's a goal like I want to be a lawyer, but school just really isn't your jam. You might want to get a counselor involved, talk to some other people, talk about other career choices. What is it about being a lawyer that's so appealing that maybe we can find something else that doesn't require so much schooling? Be open and talk those things out and find the help that's needed. All right, we're going to skip this one. We're going to skip this one. All right. There is a goal setting sheet, activity 6F. Either use a real or imagined goal and fill out activity 6F, goal setting, page 90 for credit to turn in to go along with this. So for section 6, we talked about circles of support, creating learning opportunities, building skills for adulthood, goal setting, problem solving, and monitoring progress. All right, if you'd like to take a break, of course, anytime you can pause and come back. But we're going to move on to session 7 and finish up together facing the challenge. Session 7 is about foster parents and foster staff, effective communication, and taking care of self. Managing parental stress by developing a personal self-care plan helps to establish and foster a positive relationship over time and contributes greatly to the continued success of children. We will talk about learning how to use open communication with the family and how it results in better family functioning. Learn the importance of regularly scheduled family meetings. Understand the importance of regularly scheduled family fun. Identify the stressors in your life and recognize the impact stress has on parenting. Identify how you are using your time and energy in order to develop a self-care plan. Okay. First, reflect on your current family communication and then using the family communication form, which is page 97 in our packet. It's towards the bottom. We're getting down to the last few pages. This is within like the last 5 pages in your big packet. It looks like this. It's a grid. All right, so currently, how often does the family sit down together to discuss family issues? How do house rules get modified or changed? What are the existing structures in place for family communication in your home? Remember that the relationship between foster parents and youth is one of the keys to successful outcomes for you. So take some time and fill that out. How often does the family sit down to discuss issues? This really is a tool specifically for you, and it's individualized for you to work out anything that you might need to as far as family communication. So please use this sheet to do that. How often does the family sit down? What I wrote down is we do that as needed. The house rules get modified when issues arise, and the structures for communication are face-to-face and by phone or text. Please, write down what goes on in your house, whether it's effective or ineffective, and any possible fixes or changes that need to be made. If you have foster youth in your home at this time, take that into consideration as well. Especially when it comes to structure for communication. And you might think you're being available, but are you really? Can they come to you? Is there time available? Is there a way? How do you prefer that they talk to you and ask questions? That sort of thing. If you need to pause, you can pause to finish that up. Weekly family meetings. Develop a structure. Select one time a week where everyone can sit down and check in. This can be formal or informal, but it's scheduled. This can be a structure for communication. This time is set aside every week, so if you have an issue, you can talk about it. Make sure everyone in the household knows when the family meeting is, how to bring up an issue or question. Even though life is hectic, take a few moments to consider how you can improve or fine-tune your family communication system. Having fun together. Family fun is therapeutic. Maintain family fun no matter what. Create a regular schedule for family fun. And consider the following as you plan. Involve youth in selecting activities. It can be at home or outside. It can be free, low cost, or more expensive. And explore opportunities for fun activities in the community. I mean, we live in Las Vegas. There's fun stuff going on all the time. There's things that are free. There are things that are really expensive. I mean, there's a whole spectrum of things that can be done. And the weather is beautiful right now. So, you know, it's out there for you. All right. Activity 7C is having fun. This is page 98. Brainstorm some group activities so that you can refer to this. We've done a lot of this as far as our worksheets go, making lists of rewards, consequences, ideas. Now it's time to have a bank of family fun. So write down some different activities that either take a limited amount of time or a lot of time, that are expensive, inexpensive. So in your grid, just write some of that down. You can pause it if you need more time. All right, you can pause if you need more time. Some of the things I wrote down in the first box in inexpensive or free and take a limited amount of time, or movies or going to the park, unless your park is a whole, you know, you go there and spend the whole day, then that would be inexpensive and lots of time. There are a lot of museums in Las Vegas that can be free of charge. Games, sporting events. In the expensive limited time, the theme parks here in Vegas are expensive, but just take a little bit of time. And shows that are kid friendly, there really are a lot. And then lots of time and expensive theme park out of town, family vacations, things like that. So take some time, write down some ideas there. This is important to have that family fun and blow off some steam with everybody and build those memories and relationships. Okay, helping youth participate in self-care. Youth with limited emotional regulation can react more impulsively, sometimes resulting in poor choices. Helping youth learn emotional regulation is an important part of self-care. It is a skill. So teach relaxation techniques. Encourage and provide time for relaxing activities. Model taking care of yourself. Model using emotional regulation techniques. So if that looks like, you're upset and you have to talk yourself down, don't be afraid to talk yourself down out loud. You know what? I'm actually really upset right now, but I'm just gonna take a few deep belly breaths and go be by myself, and I'll talk to you in just a minute. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. And if you do have a child in your home who has a trouble with emotional regulation, it is okay to do those breathing techniques, to sit and relax and practice relaxing each muscle from the bottom to the top. We're doing stretching exercises and taking time every day to just do that and just be calm and being very specific and pointed about it. That is perfectly all right. And it's okay for you to take time for yourself as well. What's stress got to do with it? Stress occurs during both positive and negative experiences. There's a range of stressors. Stressors accumulate. Excessive and/or ongoing stress impacts our ability to parent effectively. Youth come to us at very stressful times in their lives and have fewer effective coping methods than we do. Activity 7D is the pie of life. This is page 99 in the packet. We're going to complete a life pie. Consider the following questions as you're drawing your life pie. I'm going to grab a pencil. I don't like doing pies in pen. What do you spend most of your time on? What types of things are well balanced to spend approximately an equal amount of time on? And what are some things that are unbalanced? And what are you spending the least amount of time on? So this really is a self-check for you to say, okay, when am I spending most of my time on? There's 24 hours in a day. So if you want to divide this into 24 sections and actually count out the hours that you're spending, you can do it like that, or you can just, oh, well, a quarter of it is work and a quarter is maybe sleep or rest, and maybe there's some exercise, maybe there's eating, time with friends and family. Write it out however you want to do it. This is so that you can really look at it and see what you're spending your time on. All right, and if you need to pause to work on that more, you can. Taking care of yourself. Do you feel as though you're getting enough time? What are the barriers that are preventing you from getting what you need? How can you expand your piece of the pie? What self-care strategies are you currently using? And if you're not using any self-care strategies right now, we need to come up with something so you are. Benefits of routine respite care for parents. This provides a regular time for self-care. Psychological benefits of anticipation. So when you planned to have some respite and you're looking forward to some time, maybe to go on vacation or just take some time for yourself, there's benefits to looking forward. Nurture a circle of support. So, whatever that inner circle of support looks like, if you were in the middle of that circle, your spouse, your family, your friends, church, whatever, that gives you time to strengthen that. Add a family to your circle of support. For you, the benefit of respite care is a routine that's less traumatic. Expands youth circle of support. So instead of just the one foster family, they get to meet another foster family that they may like and get to make friends with. Psychological benefits of anticipation. Again, it's fun to look forward to something different. And allows a fun break from the foster parents. So if you need to talk to your case manager about respite and how to get that done, talk to your case manager. Activity 7E. I think it's the last one. Activity 7E is your self-care plan. What strategy can you use to take care of yourself? Just like with our youth, setting specific goals and monitoring our progress can help us achieve them. So we're going to use our self-care plan to find out what we need. Again, it's just an introspective, am I taking good care of myself? Most people don't. It's usually like a last priority. And then before you know it, you're worn out, you're not functioning as well as you could, and that's not good. So we are going to do option 2, review the self-care plan form and complete it at home. And then you're going to turn it into me. So think about the following areas of self: body, mind, spirit, and relationships. Think about days, times, and frequencies that you are taking care of these things, or when you could take some time for these things, and any barriers or solutions. So if it's a time problem, money problem, care for children, things like that. Think about barriers and solutions. And that'll be your last worksheet for credit for Together Facing the Challenge. Managing life stressors. Balance what has to be done today and what can be done tomorrow or later. Participate in regular self-care and reflection time. Pay attention to internal, verbal, and non-verbal cues. So if you're stressed out so much that your stomach hurts, it's time to take a break. If you're so stressed out that you are short and you have clipped responses, or you just can't be nice, you're edgy, time to take a break. A nonverbal cue, desire to be alone, and that's okay. If you feel like you need to be alone, then it's time to be alone. It's better than causing something due to stress. These strategies will help you be more effective as a foster parent, and it will help you catch things when they're small, instead of letting things build up to an explosion point or an implosion point, whichever way you go. Thinking, feeling, and reacting. Sam knows that he is supposed to close the door and put his things away. He did this on purpose because he knew it would upset me. Versus, I wonder if Sam is feeling okay. It's not like him to throw his books on the floor. All right. So, if we're stressed, we might come up with, this one, oh, people are trying to tick me off on purpose. Whereas, I'm calm, and I'm taking care of myself. So maybe I can take care of Sam a little bit better. Is he okay? Like, he knows he's not supposed to put his books on the floor. So I wonder if he's all right. So our thoughts affect our feelings, and those feelings affect our behaviors. And taking care of self is part of that, controlling our thoughts by taking care of ourselves. All right, active relaxation. I don't know if we have this page in here, so let me just check. It doesn't look like it. So I apologize, but I recommend active relaxation. I recommend family time, taking walks, focusing on breathing, doing those exercises, taking time out regularly, if not daily, a few times a week to just focus on relaxation and stress management. And if you need any tips on that, of course, we have all kinds of resources. You can speak with your case manager, or if you have questions from me, I'll be happy to help. Session 7, summary and wrap up. This is the end of Together Facing the Challenge. In session 7, we talked about weekly family meetings, having fun, youth self-care, parent self-care, and a review of resources. There is a training manual. I'm also going to send you the TCFT, the Together Facing the Challenge to Go sheets. You have your case manager you can talk to. Of course, you can reach out to me anytime that you need to. And then, of course, each other if you're familiar with your other foster parents. Thank you, guys. This has been great. We have talked about building positive relationships with your case manager, building positive relationships with youth, be consistent and create a predictable and structured home environment, use effective parenting techniques taught in Together Facing the Challenge, keep lines of communication open and have fun together, build your relationship with yourself, lean on your circle of support, reflect daily. What are you doing to take care of yourself? And again, these are the 3 factors in Together Facing the Challenge: the supervisor-parent relationship, the youth-parent relationship, and effective use of behavior management by parents. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Congratulations, we are done with Together Facing the Challenge. To get credit for this online course, you need to complete all of the worksheets that we talked about with your name on each worksheet, and then you can either bring them in or scan them over to me for credit. And I'll send that out in an email as well. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.